Yes, this is an ARTV hat. Yes, this is the greatest gift ever. And yes, I have the best girlfriend. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time to kick off Throwbacks Week right here on ARTV. Today I am doing a Redemption review, an album review that I am not proud of at all. If you're not familiar, Redemption reviews are where I take an old video that I did, I discard that one, I make it private because I did it back when I didn't even know how to discuss albums, and I give you a proper review, especially for an album that I love so much, Hot Fuss, the 2004 debut by American rock band The Killers. This album was huge, a worldwide phenomenon. It really just sparked this new wave of bands that were influenced by like the 80s disco, alternative, just the movement that was going on there. They cited influences from everything from David Bowie to the Smashing Pumpkins to New Order, and you can really tell that on Hot Fuss. All throughout this album, you get a lot of different vibes. There's everything from guitar-driven stuff to more danceable, and overall, I would have to describe the feeling as kind of like a dance floor-ready rock album. I mean, you've got singles like Somebody Told Me that just instantly grab your ear. It hooked me from the time I was 13 on. I still come back to moments like this. Mr. Brightside is another one that holds up all of these years later. There's something about it that instantly made it a classic. It's feelings of jealousy just swarming and taking over oneself as he sees all of these events that he just can't handle unfolding before his very eyes. He sees his girl getting stolen away by somebody else, and it's one of the best tracks about jealousy of all time. And I understand that a lot of bands are doing things different these days, but just on their debut, they were standing out so much. They had so much potential, so much going for them. Brandon Flowers is one of the best vocalists in the alternative world of the 2000s, and you see that right off the bat on their debut. He's showcasing his range. He's showing us what he can do. It works on slower stuff like Andy, You're a Star, a track that he wrote about an obsession he kind of had with this really popular guy in high school, and it works there of those sludgy riffs that really just break out kind of like a deserty feel, and that makes sense considering the band is from Las Vegas. I do get those vibes from time to time like on that, and of course the final song, Everything Will Be Alright. That's one that was actually recorded in an apartment, and you can really tell that as well. I think it brings it down to earth, grounds the album, and sends it out on a really positive note. I love the vocals on that one. It was initially one that I didn't really gravitate towards all that much, but years later, I'm finding myself appreciating the tracks that I initially didn't care for as much. Now, I will say that I wish Glamorous Indie Rock and Roll made the final track listing on all editions of the record. It was initially released as a bonus track, and I do have it on my vinyl edition. It's not on my CD copy of it, so it's one of those songs that really is one of my favorites from The Killers, but I'm not really going to talk about it in detail just because it's not featured on most editions of the album, and I tend to focus on the standard issues. Hot Fuss contains 2/3 of the infamous Murder Trilogy. Although not officially called that, fans have pretty much just picked up that title and have run with it over the years, and I understand why. Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, of course, the very bass-centric track, a really deep bass groove on that one mixed with the synthesizer, a great dark feel, and Midnight Show, two of the songs that actually made it on here. Now, on the Sawdust compilation that was released in 2007, we got the other component to this little trilogy here that really completes everything and helps it make sense, I suppose. It is kind of a loose-fitting story because music, obviously, you want to be interpreted in many different ways, but Leave the Bourbon on the Shelf is the final component there. I would highly recommend listening to that, but you can clearly see, like on Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, basically Brandon Flowers on the opening track on Hot Fuss is kind of defending himself. There ain't no motive for this crime. Jenny was a friend of mine, basically saying, why would I do that? Why would I kill her? I hate that she's dead, but yeah, this has happened. And then later on Midnight Show, he's talking about driving around, doing all these things that maybe at surface level don't seem sketchy, but you'll hear lines like, I took my baby's breath, and you start to wonder exactly what's going on there, and you realize we're looking at a murder here. We're looking at somebody who lost their mind. Maybe it's connected to some of the jealousy that he was feeling on moments like Mr. Brightside or all these things that I've done. He was seeking forgiveness for the these crimes that he's committed and maybe he's finding it hard to live with himself. I'm not exactly sure, it's just a theory, but maybe some of these tracks are a little bit more connected than we think. One of the absolute best and most rewarding moments comes in the form of On Top. It's a very synth-heavy track. It starts off with these kind of glitchy and airy synthesizers, and those move into these swarming guitars. I think that that's something that I really didn't appreciate quite at first, but if you listen to this song with maybe headphones in or else some really good speakers, I think you can really start to appreciate what all is going on here. There's a lot of really good instrumentation that makes up this song, and it fits with the story of the song, and I love Flowers' vocals on this thing. And I've been down. It just shows how good of a command that he already had on his voice. They were so young putting out this record, but it really showed that they had what it took. They had the grit to be that next big band, and they were. Throughout the 2000s, the Killers were huge, and they made some promises that they couldn't quite deliver on, but seriously, this debut is fantastic. I've got to show some love to Smile Like You Mean It, a very sarcastic one that basically is saying that, hey, smile even though everything is falling apart. Smile and convince me even though I know things aren't okay. I probably want to be reminded that they are, just so I can keep my shit together. And I've always enjoyed that one, just the synth patterns that they work in on that track, and the kind of almost dreary vocals on the chorus mixed in with that instrumental. It just really works on a different level for the Killers, and it showed off early on that they were very multifaceted. They weren't just going to be a rock band. They just weren't going to be a dance band. They were going to do a lot of different things, and showed us that they could pull it off on a very dynamic album. There's a few relationship-centric tracks towards the end of this thing, Change Your Mind and Believe Me Natalie, the latter of those being my least favorite cut from the entire project. It's just a little bit too limited in what it has to offer for the listener, I feel like. Believe me, Natalie. It just seems like he's trying to convince her, and it just isn't as effective as the track that came right before that. Change Your Mind easily turned into a favorite of mine over the years. It feels very earnest, from the heart, and genuine. I love the instrumentation on it. The guitar is super, super memorable. I love the hook on that thing as well. And then right after that, we get Believe Me, Natalie. It's one that kind of wanders over 5 minutes. It's not one that I totally dismiss by any means. I still really like this song, but in terms of its peers, you've got a lot to live up to with all of these songs on here. Some of the best singles of the 2000s. Seriously, you're looking at a stacked lineup here. Smile Like You Mean It, Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, Mr. Brightside, Somebody Told Me, all these things that I've done. Like I said, one of the best songs of the 2000s, hands down right there. That song moved me in so many different ways the first time I ever heard it, and it has stuck with me non-stop. It's so powerful because it's talking about all of these different things. His vocal range on this one is so powerful. I love the way that the pianos kick things off. He kind of repeats the phrase that comes back later in the rest of the song. There's so many different elements that make this thing up. It's got elements of rock, gospel, and even more of kind of a dancey rock vibe to it, especially as the song picks up with its guitars, carries it into the final part of the track, and obviously that bridge that people quote all the time. I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier. This song is truly epic, the best song that the Killers have ever released, and honestly at this point I feel like that's as good as it's going to get, because they have shown us time and time again that they are probably not going to top Hot Fuss. I love nearly every single song on this album. It's very near and dear, close to my heart, just because I got it whenever I was a teenager and just getting into music. Mr. Brightside was on the first ever mix CD that I got, and so I found myself gravitating towards them and just giving them kind of that special seat because they deserve it. They're a really, really talented band. I really hope that they put out more great music. I'm hoping for a record in 2017, but fingers crossed, we'll see. It didn't happen in 2016, but these guys definitely deserve the benefit of the doubt considering they've put out such great material like Sam's Town, obviously Hot Fuss, and of course there are great songs on the other albums like Day and Age and Battleborn as well. So I can't wait to see what they're doing next in 2017. They've been recording. Hot Fuss is a certified classic, and for me, of course, high replay factor. Keep coming back to it years later, over a decade old at this point, and I still say 5 out of 5. What are your thoughts on Hot Fuss by the Killers? Let me know in the comments section down below. Leave a like on the video. For Throwbacks Week, more videos all week long. Subscribe to the channel because friends don't let friends go and subscribe. You can see another throwback review here or a recent video right here. Social media linked in the description, and I'll see you very soon on ARTV.